Welcome, I'm Christina, the owner of Your Beauty brand and Lincoln Blush Beauty. Let's do some lash practice. Let's start by setting up our tray. You will need a dental bib to keep your station nice and sanitary. You'll need a new one for each client. You need distilled water, your lash cleanser of your choice, lash glue of your choice, two microfiber wands, your under eye pads, either foam or hydrogel, your choice, two mascara wands, glue ring, and your glue wipes. You also may want a fan to the side. As you see, I have mine on the pole, but I do have a handheld one. So here we have tweezers. You choose which ones you want to hold in your dominant hand and which ones you want to hold in your non-dominant hand. You can play around with the different orders of what feels best with you. I like to work with 3 of them, and sometimes I switch back and forth, whichever feels good in my hands when I'm working on a client in different eye shapes. You also need your micro pore tape. Now that we have our tray set up, we are ready to prepare our bed for our client. Of course, you want to lay down a dental bib to keep your station nice and sanitary. Of course, this is thrown away after each client. Now we are ready for our first client. This is my handy dandy mannequin hair from 2019. She helped me get through esthetician school. She's great, so don't mind her old makeup. I tried to get it off, but I can't. But she's here to help us with application today. Some people like to use gloves, and in my case, I like to sanitize a lot, which is why you see my hands are so dry. I do use lotion, but I am washing my hands a lot during the day. But the double-sided tape is to keep the under part of the lash strip sanitary to avoid transferring germs and skin cells and things of that nature. So here we're going to take our lash strip from the box. I have my lashes, and we are going to cut the lash strip for sanitation purposes. So here, before I start, before you touch your client, sanitize if you are not using gloves. So here I'm sanitizing my hands before I touch the client. And now I am ready to cut the lash strips. You would take your lash strip like so and just cut. Again, you want to keep your product sanitary, so that is the reason we're cutting the strip. That way you can use the other parts for other clients. If you want to, you can also keep trays and name them for each client that you have. There's so many different ways to organize this. You have to find which way is best for you. Sometimes I like to put my strips on the tray. You can have lash trays as well. They're made of glass, but sometimes I like to use the actual tray that the lashes came in as a tray, and I like to pick up the lashes from there versus the back of my hand. It's just what's easy for me, but this is also another option for you. but this is what is comfortable for me. So now we are ready to prep our client. So we are going to grab our lash cleanser, and you want to use 1 or 2 pumps. But before you put anything on the client, you want to place your hand over the forehead to let the client know what's coming so you won't shock them. Once you have applied your lash wash, you want to grab your microfiber wands. You want to take one microfiber wand and place under the lashes and another one on top, and you want to do sort of a scissoring motion back and forth and really scrub those lashes clean. You need to get all of the dirt, oil, and debris off of the lashes so our lash extensions can adhere to the natural lashes properly. This step is really important. I know my mannequin doesn't have any lashes, but we're pretending that they're there. Once I am done scrubbing the lashes, I like to wipe away the excess soap with a glue wipe. I like to do this because it's less messy, but you can decide to use a paper towel if you like, or you can use a microfiber cloth. I prefer to use glue wipes because they're smaller and it's disposable. I don't have a lot of mess to clean up after. Now we are ready to rinse our client's lashes. So we are going to put the paper towel or whatever you're using to catch the water to the side of their face to make sure that the water doesn't run into the client's ears, and you are going to ask them to turn their head to the side so you can catch all the water. Follow the same step on the other side. Ask your client to turn their head. It was hard to do this at the same time because this is not a real person. But ask the client to turn their head so the water can run into the wipe, and then gently wipe the water away. So now that we're all rinsed up, we are ready to prep and prime the lashes. So we are using witch hazel for our degreaser. You don't want to do this over the client's face, so I am hovering my microfiber wands over my tray. I sprayed twice and made sure that my microfiber wands are nice and saturated. So here we are going to use the same motion that we used to wash, and we're going to make sure that the lashes are in between the microfiber wands, and we are doing the back and forth scissor motion. So you all can get a better visual, I went ahead and put a strip lash on my mannequin so you can see how I am doing the scrubbing motion with the microfiber wands. So one goes underneath the lashes and one goes on top, and you're doing the scissor motion across, saturating the lashes. Make sure you're getting in there good at the base of the lashes as well, all the way to the tips. Voila, she's done. Now we have to dry because of course we can't apply anything on wet lashes. When fanning your client, try to make sure you're not pointing the fan at their nose and mouth. I guess I kind of forgot because this is a mannequin. I've had a couple of clients that are claustrophobic, and when their eyes are closed, they feel like their breath is being taken away and they feel like the space is being closed in on them. So when you're using the fan to dry lashes, just make sure you keep the air away from the nose and mouth. Now we are ready to apply our lash pads. The ones I chose to use for this video are the micro foam pads. I like these better because they stay in place when the client talks or moves. They don't easily slip out of place. Now you're going to cut your under eye pads. Cut as shown in the video. When you are cutting your under eye pads, make sure you use a light hand so you don't accidentally chop off a piece of the foam pad or your under eye pad. Cut as shown in the video. The reason we are cutting the eye pads is because it makes the pad more flexible to fit your client's eye shape. Now we are going to apply the eye pad. But because this is a mannequin, I can't tell her to open her eyes. But usually here, I tell my client to open her eyes. And then I place on the iPad and then ask her to close her eyes. You want to make sure that the pad is not rubbing up against the client's sclera or anywhere on the eye, because it will cause bruising during application, and then that's a whole nother story if she has red eyes the day after. Now that our eye pads are on, we are ready to pull up the eyelid. The reason we use the microboard tape to pull up the eyelid is so you can see the lashes better, and it makes isolation so much easier. Also, the reason we do this step is to make sure our beautiful work doesn't get glued down to the iPads. Sometimes if it does get glued to the iPad, it'll pull off the work, or you'll have pieces of white bits under your client's lashes. Our mannequin is now ready for application. Now we are ready to do this all over again, but this time on a person. So I am sanitizing my hands before we touch our client. If you are not using gloves, either use soap and water or sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. Here is our human model. This is my oldest daughter, Kaylin. Place one hand on your client's forehead so you won't shock them with wet, cold cleanser. Grab your microfiber wands, one on top and one underneath, and we're going to do this scissoring motion. Now that we're done washing, we want to wipe away the excess soap. When wiping your client's eyes, always make sure you use a gentle touch. You don't want to press too hard on the eyes. Okay, notice I put the wipe to the side and I ask my client to turn her head. I use my finger to guide her. Sometimes my clients get their left from right mixed up. As I'm guiding my client's head, I'm talking to her at the same time, asking her to turn her head to the right or to the left. Now that I have my client wiped dry, I am going to skip the priming part just for the sake of timing for the video, but refer back to the mannequin part of this video. Notice as I'm drying the lashes, I'm using a mascara wand to gently brush through the lashes to separate them and to make them dry quicker. Remember to keep the airflow from the fan away from your client's nose and mouth. Now my client is dry and ready to go, and we're ready to apply her eye pads. So here I asked my client to open her eyes and look back at me. When doing this part, you have to be careful not to place the iPad too close to the client's eyes. When the pad gets too close, it can cause small cuts or bruises on the eyes. Those take a few days to heal and they are painful. As I am doing this part, I place the pad down on the lash line, not too close, but before I press the pad all the way down to secure it in its spot, I just put the tip along the edge of the waterline and then ask my client to close their eyes because I want to make sure that the pad has a snug fit and is flat against the client's skin. If the under eye pad is not flat against the client's skin, it can become a problem later and be bulky, and if the client starts tearing, they won't stick. It's a mess. So you want to get those pads as flat as possible. So here we're using the micro pore tape to gently lift up the client's lid so we can see our work better and have better isolation. Throughout service, if I need a lift in a certain part of the eye, I'll readjust the tape. Not take it off, but just readjust it to lift where I need it to be lifted. If you notice, when I place the tape, I never press the tape over the client's eyebrows because you don't want to snatch her hairs out when you take the tape off. And when you take the tape off at the end of the service, you want to go with the hair growth so you won't snatch the hair. You want to use a mirror to check to see if your client's eyes are open after you tape, and you do this because you don't want your client's eye exposed to the fumes and the air during service. Also, you want to make sure that the pad isn't touching the eye. Always ask your client if she's comfortable. And voila, we are ready to start lashing. This is what your prep should look like. In this example, I'm going to show you what it looks like with a glove on and the double-sided tape if you shall choose to use this method. I don't use this method because this is a lot of product, but take your double-sided tape and you put it along the side of your pointer finger. Then you want to take your cut lash strips and place it on top of the double-sided tape to secure the position. And this way you can take the lashes from the back of your hand if you choose to. I did not put both gloves on for the sake of saving some product, but when you're using this method, yes, you would put gloves on both hands if you choose to, again, use this method. So now you want to grab your glue ring and then you want to stretch it out. With the gloves, you have a little bit more tightness there, so you want to make sure you don't cut off your circulation with the ring and the glove on. And now you are ready to go to work. Now grab your glue and shake your glue. When you shake your glue, you want to shake for 30 to 60 seconds. If you choose not to manually shake your glue like you just saw in the first example, you can get a glue shaker off Amazon and let it do the work for you. When you are shaking your glue, make sure you're not doing this over the client because you can hit her in the forehead. I was very careful because my daughter was there, but again, with how I was recording the video, I had to do it there. Now we are going to take a drop of glue and put it in the cup. So you want to hold your glue bottle at a 90-degree angle to drop straight into the cup. That way you don't get the bottle regurgitating glue back out at you. Once you tip it right side up, the glue that was at the tip sucks back into the bottle. Once you turn the bottle right side up, you want to burp the bottle, squeeze it a few times to make sure there's no glue at the tip, and use your glue wipe to wipe the excess glue off the tip. If you do not do this, you will glue your cap to the bottle, and you don't want that in the middle of a service. It's happened to me, and I have wasted a lot of glue, puncturing holes in the bottle just to get the glue out. Here is a better view of how to drop your glue into the cup. You want to remove the top from the bottle, and then you are going to take your glue, presume that it's already shaken, and tip it at a 90-degree angle straight into the ring. One drop every 20 minutes is good to keep your glue fresh. Don't forget to burp your bottle after you drip your glue and wipe off the nozzle. And now you are ready to do your first client or mannequin. Happy lashing!